It's Flashcard Friday here on Math Science History. I'm your host, Gabrielle Burchak, and today's episode is all about something small that packs a big punch against one of the most common cancers in the world, sunblock. I'm going to explore its fascinating history, the science of how it works, the statistics on skin cancer and melanoma, and why protecting your skin is one of the smartest health moves you can make. But first, a word from our advertisers. Humans have been battling the sun for thousands of years, and while the sun gives us life, warmth, and vitamin D, it also sends out invisible ultraviolet radiation, UV rays, that can damage our skin. Ancient cultures had their own creative solutions. In ancient Egypt, people used rice bran extracts and jasmine, which modern science has shown can help absorb UV light. The Greeks used olive oil, and indigenous Australians applied clay and mud, which acted like a natural barrier. But the first modern sunblocks didn't appear until the 20th century, and so here's how it unfolded. In 1938, Australian chemist Franz Gruyter got badly sunburned while climbing Mount Pisbuin in the Alps. Determined to solve the problem, he created one of the first effective sunscreens, which eventually became the well-known Pisbuin brand. In 1944, in the United States, Benjamin Green, an airman and pharmacist, developed, quote, Red Vet Pet, short for Red Veterinary Petroleum, to protect soldiers in World War II. This sticky red substance laid the foundation for the Coppertone brand. Then, in the 1960s and the 1970s, sunscreens improved dramatically. Companies began developing creams with measurable SPF, or sun protection factor. In the 1980s to the 1990s, the industry saw a huge leap forward with the development of broad-spectrum sunscreens that protect against both UVA and UVB rays. Today, sunblock comes in lotions, sprays, sticks, gels, and even powders, reflecting decades of research into skin health and photoprotection. So, how does this stuff actually work? Well, sunblock and sunscreen fall into two main categories. The first one is physical mineral blockers like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. These sit on top of the skin and reflect UV rays away, acting like tiny mirrors. Second, there are chemical sunscreens with ingredients like avobenzone and octinoxate. These absorb UV radiation and convert it into harmless heat. The sun protection factor, the SPF, measures how well a sunscreen protects against UVB rays, which cause sunburn. For example, SPF 30 blocks about 97% of UVB rays, while SPF 50 blocks about 98%. But no sunscreen blocks 100%, so reapplying and combining it with protective clothing is key. Broad-spectrum sunscreens protect against both UVB and UVA rays. UVA rays penetrate deeper into the skin and are strongly linked to aging and skin cancer. Now, here's where things get serious. Melanoma is the deadliest form of skin cancer. While it accounts for only about 1% of skin cancers, it causes the vast majority of skin cancer deaths. Let's look at some statistics. According to the American Cancer Society, in 2025, about 100,640 new melanomas will be diagnosed in the United States. Around 8,290 people will die from melanoma this year in 2025, and one person dies of melanoma every hour in the United States. But here is the good news. Early detection leads to a 99% 5-year survival rate for localized melanoma. Regular use of sunscreen reduces the risk of developing melanoma by up to 50%. One landmark study from Australia published in Journal of Clinical Oncology followed over 1,600 people for 4.5 years, and those who applied sunscreen daily had 50% fewer melanomas compared to those who used sunscreen occasionally. That's why I say it loud and proud. Just say no to melanoma. So, there's a big myth out there. I only need sunscreen when it's sunny. But that's not true. Up to 80% of UV rays pass through clouds. Snow, sand, and water reflect sunlight, which increases exposure. And even on cold or overcast days, you're still getting hit with UV radiation. And if you're thinking, I'm indoors, I'm safe, think again. UVA rays can penetrate glass windows, meaning that daily sunblock use matters even if you're inside by a window or driving. Consider this. For those of us in the United States, have you ever looked at your arms? You'll see that the left side is always darker than the right. That's UVA rays penetrating your left arm. So you gotta wear sunblock even when you're driving. So here is your crash course in applying sunscreen the right way. Use at least a shot glass amount, 1 full ounce for full body coverage. Apply 15 to 30 minutes before going outside. Reapply every 2 hours or immediately after swimming or sweating. And don't forget sneaky spots, ears, scalp, tops of feet, lips, and the back of your neck. Especially those out there with short hair. Your ears, they always get sunburned, and that's always one of the number one spots for detecting melanoma. Also, choose sunblock that is SPF 30 or higher, that is broad spectrum, and that is water resistant if you are swimming or sweating. So here's a little math twist for my fellow number fans. If SPF 30 blocks 97% of UVB rays and SPF 50 blocks 98% of UVB rays, you might think SPF 100 blocks double the rays, but it doesn't. SPF 100 blocks about 99%. This means that SPF 30 to SPF 50 is usually sufficient for most people. But it also means that no sunscreen is bulletproof. You still need shade, hats, and protective clothing. So, here's the global impact and the future of sun protection. Melanoma rates have been rising for decades, especially among young people and those with fair skin. But thanks to better awareness and products, we're seeing improvements. In Australia, one of the sunniest places on Earth, skin cancer rates have started to decline in younger generations because of strong public health campaigns like Slip, Slop, Slap. Slip on a shirt, slop on the sunscreen, and slap on a hat. I love it. So in the future, we're likely to see wearable UV sensors and clothing with built-in SPF and more reef-safe formulas that protect the ocean as well as our skin. So here are our takeaways, and here's what I want you to remember. 1. Sunscreen has a fascinating history from ancient rice bran to modern sprays. 2. It works by reflecting or absorbing UV rays and reducing your risk of skin damage. And 3. Melanoma is deadly, but largely preventable, and sunscreen cuts your risk by up to 50%. So please, just say no to melanoma. Protect your skin like your life depends on it, because in many cases, it does. Thank you for joining me today on Flashcard Fridays at Math Science History. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends and family. And the next time you head outside, remember to slip, slop, slap, and say no to melanoma. And until next time, carpe diem.